Great. Team, thank you very much. Video 6, we're super excited about this one. I think this is one of the chapters that really makes us stand out and unique in the sense that we're here for you, not just before the MBA, but also when you get into the MBA. It can be a pretty intimidating place to be because there's so much thrown at you at day one. And we just want to, highlight some of the main things that will help you through the MBA journey as you begin and throughout the 2 years of the process of the overall kind of process and education.
Yeah.
John, hit on.
Nah, man. This is the most important chapter to me. This is the one that I think I'm most passionate about. So it's
This one and the next one, guys, are really gonna change, hopefully change how you guys think about things, but also just we want to keep you on the path to success. And there's certain tips and things that you need to be aware of as you're kind of going through the journey. So super excited.
yeah, let's get after it.
Okay, great. John, you want to hit us off with the introduction?
Well, of all the sessions in this course, this is the one you need to go through 10 to 15 times to really, really maximize your return on your MBA investment. And I repeat, you must go through this 10 to 15 times. We want this ingrained in your head. So, why are we stressing this so much? Because despite being an MBA success story in terms of overcoming, subpar undergrad records and getting into top MBA programs, I mean, I personally really failed once I got to USC. I wasn't as focused as I should have been. There's a variety of reasons, but if I had to do it all over again, I definitely would have wished that a chapter like this existed because it would have completely changed my experience, probably what I'd be doing now. You're spending a lot of time and money on this investment. So you really want to make sure that once you get into the program, you're really, really dialed in every day to make sure that you maximize the return on your investment. Because I think a lot of people, they get into a school and they think that's it. They got into their top choice and then they can just coast. But actually, this is where the real work starts. And I would probably start, like, once you actually get accepted in that program, I would start to execute things that we're talking about in this chapter on day one once you get that acceptance letter. I mean,
Yeah.
really.
I mean, as it goes back to, if you look at the past chapters and you've successfully completed those chapters, you should be networking with actual students that are at these programs, right? So hearing their stories, thinking about what they're going through, the challenges, the internships, the great courses they're taking, all those things should be crafting how you're thinking about executing inside the playbook or inside the MBA program with the playbook. But this one, no other coach is going to walk you through this chapter and the next chapter.
No,
But
nobody talks about it. Like, nobody's
nobody
talking
talks
about once
about
you get in, like, to really maximize return, because this is actually where this really separates the winners from the losers. And we've seen it. We've seen it because a lot of these schools, they're selling you the dream of, all the success stories. But there's a lot of people that have these MBAs that weren't successful. But this will ensure that you are not one of those unsuccessful people and that you're the most successful MBA graduate possible. So exciting stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, John. Let's jump into it, folks. First one, John, you want to hit on this one?
Wow. Yeah. Well, first one, I know that nobody's talking about that. So working out and eating healthy. Um, this is really an important one because
Why don't you talk about your COVID story, John?
my COVID story. Well, yeah, I mean, during the pandemic, I had never hired a personal trainer, and I was always really determined to really, like, maximize my physical fitness. So I decided the world to slow down. I decided to invest in a personal trainer. And I lost almost 30 pounds. I was in the best shape of my life. And that physical transformation then basically helped me with my mindset and helped me with my career. So it was kind of a domino effect because it really just gave me that physical transformation, gave me the confidence to then go and actually kind of really find my dream job. And it happened. And then shortly after that, I found my dream job and I've completely transformed my career as well. So, um, it was something that I wish I had done when I was getting my MBA because I did the exact opposite when I went into the MBA program. I kind of aligned myself with, I mean, I still love them guys. I have amazing friends, but I kind of aligned myself more with a lot of party people. We were probably drinking 2 to 3 times a week. I think I gained 30 pounds. It affected my energy. And it was a complete train wreck, complete train wreck.
Yeah, we'll hit on those chapters in the next we'll hit on those in the next slides, but I mean the success you had in COVID was absolutely ridiculous. It was amazing to see the transformation. It really
Yeah, we
was.
should have included the photo, man. Should have included
And
the photo.
well, we could send that out to our clients, but
Right.
guys, I mean, and the girls, the key here is that you're going to have time. The first couple months will be very busy, but you're going to have some free time, especially in the second year, to kind of get in the best shape of your lives, right? And I think that what it'll do is you'll not just look good, but you'll feel good, and your energy is like the key to life, in my opinion. And John is the energy guru, and he's got the most energy of anyone I've ever met. So that's why I love the guy. But it really just gives you that time back to really focus on yourself and build some of these life habits that will kind of pay you dividends in the future. And so take this stuff very seriously, like working out and eating healthy. Like if you're not good at it right now, like master this during your MBA program because it's just going to pay dividends.
100%. 100%.
My experience was pretty unique too. Like I was in Berkeley, so the weather was always nice. That's the beauty of California, getting your MBA in California. But I joined the squash league at Berkeley. I never played squash, and man, I really fell in love with it. It was amazing. I think I lowered my handicap by 6 strokes or so. I joined a Tahoe ski house, which was a lot of fun, but it was also very active and kind of helped me to kind of stay in great shape. But those are some of the things that I did, and I still, I'm at my goal weight of 180 now, but I take this very serious, and we eat a very healthy diet. Don't get me wrong, we have cheat days, but those are, once or twice a week, not every week, every day. So it's super important. Focus on your energy. As you get older in life, the energy levels go down. So you have to find ways to keep those up as you're, becoming an executive at whatever company or starting your own company. Having those times of the days where your mind's fresh, more time in the day is very important. So this will definitely set you apart and make you unique as an individual, especially going through your MBA process.
You're spending 150, $200,000 on this investment. Like, make sure you're going to maximize it. So this is like a very important, and it's such an easy thing to do. And yeah, use this as an opportunity, even if you're already in great shape, to even get into the better shape.
I
And
love that. I think that's 100% right. Like if let's just say you're like a yoga person or whatnot, become a yoga instructor or something, right? Like
yeah,
master your craft. Like if you're a good golfer, try to become a scratch.
yeah,
You can take it many different levels, but I've seen it work out, and it's super cool because you have this time that you're never going to have in your life again to achieve some of these kind of fitness and health goals that will impact you the rest of your life. So
yep.
100%. So socialize.
Ooh,
John, you want?
socializing and drinking. Wow. Wow. Who wants to start with this one? Is this me?
Yeah, I can kick it off.
All right.
Guys, when you first get into your MBA, or even before, once you get accepted, you're going to join group me's and chats, and there'll be events every single night, right? And it becomes a huge drinking culture right away. Even if you don't like drinking, it's a lot of the events are hosted at restaurants and bars, or there's always a bar at the event that you're going to if it's a networking event. And it's something that comes up quite frequently. And the first couple months are very, very stressful and very challenging because not only are you executing on your classes, but you're also looking for internships for the summer. Like that happens right away. So the networking is almost every, it feels like it was every night. And then on the weekends, there's parties, there's ski houses, there's events that will all, have drinking. So with that, we just wanted to kind of highlight some of the, kind of risks with that, and then also just kind of how you can go about it in the correct way. So John,
Yeah,
you want to your
I
story?
mean, yeah, I mean, we went to small undergrad schools, and then we went to, obviously kind of like more well-known uh MBA programs. You went to Berkeley, I went to USC, so, you know, they have football, basketball, and it's easy to get sucked into kind of the whole drinking, partying culture because, when you go to a smaller school, you have like a chip on your shoulder a little bit. So, and maybe you feel like you maybe missed some of that 4-year college experience. So, um, you know, I I really felt like I had a chip on my shoulder a little bit and I wanted that experience, but in hindsight, it was probably not the best idea because it really causes you to just lose focus on why you're even there. Because drinking's exhausting, to be honest with you. It's fun for a little bit, but it's bad for your health. I gained almost 40 pounds. My energy is terrible. And then also it's expensive. It's expensive. I mean, I don't even know how much I put on my credit cards, but it was insane, man. It was insane. So it's everything about it is bad. So I mean, an occasional drink here and there is fine, but at USC, I don't know if they had this in Berkeley, but we had a Thursday kind of mixer, and there was like beer kegs, and I mean, it was just like, wow, man. I mean, you start there and then you go to another spot, and Friday, Saturday, there was a lot of social events that involved drinking. So, it's just like now I understand that there's a difference between socializing and drinking. I think that's my main point. So once you figure that out, then you will really have mastered it because you can still you're honestly, in reality, I think you can be more social by not drinking. So I think a lot of people think they're the best versions of themselves when they drink and they're more social, but I would actually argue that you're probably the best version of yourself when you're not drinking. So I think it's about, I'm not saying nobody should drink. I'm just saying really look to achieve a healthy balance because the people that I saw that were most successful weren't the ones partying, weren't the ones going out and doing all this crazy stuff. So, there'll be different like groups of people there. And maybe that group that's always out partying and drinking, maybe they think they're so cool, but when you actually look at the results 5, 10 years later after they graduated, the ones that weren't doing so much partying, they're the ones that were successful, sold their companies, or now the CEOs, CMOs of big companies. So just really, really just really kind of evaluate why you're there. And, you're going to have this force there. So just like make sure that when you're presented with it, that you know how to handle it correctly. So,
Yeah. I think you said it well. I think the separating the socializing from drinking is the key here, right? So
right.
focus on the socializing, and then, if they have a drink or two, that's fine. But like meeting people, networking, building that network, and just like getting to know the people in your program is just so important. But do you have to have drinks to do that? No. But at
No,
the
no, and
same,
it goes back to the slide before. Is like there's a lot of like group sports and just different activities where you can be super social, and none of those involve drinking.
yeah, totally agree. Sleep. So sleep is super important. I think that, it's one of it's along with kind of eating well and exercising, sleep is super important. So if you're a morning person, that's great. If you're a night owl, that's a little bit more challenging, right? But in the MBA program, you will be challenged on your sleep time. I don't know, some people have worked 80-hour weeks, right? I have. It becomes very tiring, and ultimately you're able to, execute, it kind of goes down quite a bit, right? It challenges that. So if you can build a strong sleep, habit, right, while you're in the program, that would be amazing. I think that it's one of those things people don't talk about much, but it's, like I said, it's just as important as working out and eating. So just want to.
Yeah. I mean, when you were at Berkeley, I mean, what didn't it feel like? I don't know. When I was at USC, I just felt like there was a lot of like group projects and people were working like past midnight and staying up late. And there were a lot of people putting in like 18-hour days. I was like, what is going on here? Like, does it need to be like, do people need to have this like level of pressure where you need to be working 16, 18 hours every day of the week? I mean, I don't know. There was like a little bit of that culture at USC. I don't know if that was the same for you at Berkeley or
Oh yeah, there was definitely long nights. I mean, before midterms, right? I mean, you're trying to cram all this information in, your brain for a 2-hour test or whatever. And it's a lot of information. It's challenging. It can definitely test you. So just want to make sure everyone focuses on sleep as well, because it's
yeah. I mean, just stay up with your reading and stuff. I mean, I think a lot of times you'd slack on certain stuff, but you know that you can keep up with everything. Just keep up with everything, so then you're never having these like you have to cram and it affects your sleep. I mean, look at Jeff Bezos. I mean, he gets 8 hours of sleep a night, and I think he doesn't even really. I think he only does like 4 or 5 hours of super hyper focused work a day. I don't think he's not grinding 16, 18 hours a day. So
No, I think that most people can only do 4 to 5 hours of super focused work a day, honestly. And then it's
yeah.
most of the time it's Zoom calls or conference calls.
Yeah.
Uh,
But I mean, the sleep, eating healthy, not drinking. I mean, you're gonna love it. These are gonna be great life habits that you're gonna be able to take basically until the day you die. You'll probably add another 10 or 15 years on your life too.
yeah, definitely. So mindset, I mean, we talked about mindset quite a bit here, but I think it's one of those times where it's this rare time in life where you get a chance to really build some strong habits for the future, and finding kind of your flow state or being in the zone is one of those kind of elements that I love, and I found how to do that for me. What that looks like for me is I'll take a nap at whatever time, noon, 1, whatever, and then I'll go for a half-hour run, and then I'm able to grind super hard for 3 to 4 hours. Um, Everyone has their kind of way to get into that mindset, but this is how I do it. But there's a really good book, this Compete to Create. It's with Pete Carroll, and he talks about, the overall just kind of how to really just find that flow state for yourself, and develop that winner mindset, because it's, at the end of the day, you want to be the best version of yourself, and don't let this golden opportunity go to waste, as the slide says. So
Yeah.
super.
That's a great book. It's easy to read. And I mean, it kind of goes back to the example that we started where I lost 30 pounds during the pandemic. But, um, you know, if, if you focus on, I mean, whatever, I started with physical fitness and then that flowed into, kind of like my mindset and then my career. But, you can start whichever way you want. You could start with mindset and then that could flow into, your physical fitness and your career, whatever, vice versa. But they're all interconnected. So, um, the book really breaks down those, each of those individual areas, how, really focus on dominating one of those, and then it'll start to flow into those other ones. And then you'll have that like 360 kind of flow state where you're basically unstoppable.
Yeah, 100%. So if we can all find a way to get into that flow state, it's kind of like an athlete, Michael Jordan or whoever, when they're just can hit threes from the half court, no problem, right? That's kind of what we're looking to achieve, but ultimately in the business setting. So super exciting on this one. I love that book.
Yeah.
I've I have it on Audible and probably listen to it like 5 times.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite books to get me in the zone, get me pumped, to get me excited.
Yeah.
So
Woo!
networking is like half of the MBA. You're gonna be every day there's gonna be some type of networking thing that you're gonna be doing right off the bat. But there's all different ways you can do this. Definitely in your cohort. So they'll break your class up into a smaller section of people, and you'll get to know those people very, very well. At Berkeley, how they did it when I was there, it was about 250 for the class size, I believe, and they broke the sections up into four, so 60 people, yeah, 50, 60 people or so, and you get to know those people very, very well. But outside of that group, you kind of have to find areas of interest with those other cohorts to really build those strong relationships. But that's kind of one of the things that people don't talk about much. Professors are a super strong way to land good jobs and talk about future careers that you want to have, and if they've worked in industry, like that's really exciting because that gives you some guidance into the industry that they've kind of worked at, and you can find similarities into the industry that you want to work at. So it's pretty awesome to hear their stories. Student clubs and networking, I was in a couple. These are great. I think that if you find ones that there's a lot of clubs when you go into these programs. So pick the clubs right, and then spend. I think it's better to like be in just a couple, and then really put in the time and effort into that club versus being in like 10 clubs and not really putting in any effort into those clubs. Because at the end of the day, networking or student clubs or whatever, it's all about the amount of input and effort that you put into it is what you'll get out of it, right? So it's super important to stay focused on that and not spread yourself too thin. And then
Mhm.
ultimately alumni networking, right? This is the most important,
Yeah.
uh, in my opinion. And it got me my current job today, right? So we'll talk about LinkedIn in the bonus section,
Yeah.
but the alumni networking is just super duper powerful. Like I mentioned, I was looking for a new job out of JP Morgan and went on LinkedIn, kind of cold messaged a bunch of people. But what I found super valuable is find three things in common that you have with the person that you're reaching out to on LinkedIn. And John will talk about branding and LinkedIn power on the next chapter. But if you find those three things that you have in common with that person, they'll hit you up, right? They'll respond back and treat it like a sales job, right? Like nobody, because I get pinged all the time on LinkedIn and nobody responds to the first or second message. But like, if you hit me up 5 times and you're that hungry, I'm gonna respond. Like, I don't care who you are, I don't care what you're selling. Like, I just love the hunger and I love the attitude and approach that that person's taking. There was a good example that happened recently where a recruiter was trying to get a hold of me for a job that she thought was interesting. I mean, she was texting me, calling me, hitting me up on LinkedIn, emailing me, and at that point I'm like, okay, she's got something that of real value, right? And it was a great opportunity. So that networking is super strong, but those are some of the highlights. John, anything to hit on the networking side?
No, I mean, cohort networking, I just would say just be just spend some time really picking those 5 people you're going to surround yourself with all the time. So, I mean, I love my friends to death that I got my MBA with, but in hindsight, I would have probably picked a different group of people to really push myself, to really like take my kind of like my game up another level. I kind of chose people that were similar to me, and that's fine. We had fun, but I think you should really try and just kind of push the boundaries of the kind of people you're interacting with. And I think it could really, really elevate your experience. So maybe people that you're just maybe they're intimidated or super smart or really accomplished already prior to the program. I don't know, just like really try to like push. the boundaries of the kind of people that you're spending time with, because that's why you're there. You're hanging out with some of the most exceptional, extraordinary people on the planet. I mean, some of these people's backgrounds are crazy, crazy. They've done crazy stuff, have crazy experiences. So I would just say really, really think about that vibe. And yeah, professor networking, I wish I had done more of that. Student clubs networking. I think the only thing I'll say about that is I think, just really kind of zone in on one club. I know a lot of people like we're trying to do 4 or 5 clubs, but I think just find that one that's really kind of like dialed into what you're trying to accomplish. And I think you'll just have a more fruitful experience. You don't have a lot of time. So I think, and then the alumni networking, we'll dive into that, but LinkedIn is going to be your best friend there. So any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it. I think that the cohort networking too. I mean, one of the cool things that I did, it's kind of crazy because you're all in this together, right, at the school. Then once you get out of school, 80% of the people move away to whatever region, what international people go back to their their countries.
Yep.
Um, and a lot of people want to go back to, are bound for big, big cities, right?
Yep.
So who your friends at the school, it's hard to keep those relationships up, really,
Yep.
like John said. So picking those, 3 to 5 people, I mean, max. I mean, I came away with a bunch of friends. Are you kidding me? But like they moved away, man. They have kids, and it's just, you have to put a happy hour on their calendar 2 months in advance now. It's crazy. But just
I
keep that in
mean,
mind.
I mean, we don't want to call it anybody specific, but if you went back to school now, do you think your top 5 friends would look dramatically different than they did when you got your MBA?
I kind of did a good job of like meeting everybody because
Right.
Berkeley is such a small school.
Yeah.
So it's a really good question. Would I have spent more time with different people? Yes, I would have for
Yeah.
sure. I think that even though like the international students move away, when I went to, we were working on a deal in Chile, and one of the guys, so funny. I mean, he never combed his hair. I think he only wore sweats the whole time we were in school. I went down to Chile. It's been 8 years. I haven't talked to the guy in 5 years, but I'm like, hey, I'm gonna come to Chile. Are you around this one? I had one night, like 2 hour slot, right? I mean, the chances of hitting them are like impossible.
Right.
And so the first time I didn't meet him, but the second time I did, and he's like in a suit without a tie. He's got 3 buttons, done on his. I mean, he looks super suave. His hair's slicked back. I mean,
Yeah.
the guy's running a huge construction company in Chile, which is like a big business. They own a ton of real
Wow.
estate, and
Wow.
it was super cool to have that, like, be able to hang out with one of the locals,
Yeah.
and it was cool because I work at a REIT, which is and we're buying data centers down there, and he knew the company that we were looking at, and it was pretty awesome, man. It really like rang true of like the value of networking in the MBA program.
Yep. I love it. Fantastic story.
Cool. So internship. So people, you probably heard about this and talked about this, but as you're doing your networking with the students, during your kind of when you're writing your essays, the internship is something super important, right? Like all of a sudden you're going to switch from going to getting into MBA program, which is like the most important thing in your life, to your internship is the most important thing in your life. Um, that being said, I think it's super important, but I don't think it is the most important thing in your life. The thing that people don't talk about much is that in your second year, you have a ton of time, right? So like you're going to be in school for, I don't know, 4 hours every other day or something like that. And then maybe you have 2 hours of homework, right? So 6 hours. And then, but the rest of the time, like, so maybe you're like working 20, 30 hours a week on school, maybe 20, probably 20.
Yeah.
So the rest of the time you can do other internships, right? So I highly recommend that, yeah, you do your summer internship, you get a good one, But then in your second year, you go for an internship that would, get you into a different type of company, or, something that would be really advanced your career and your resume to land that dream job that you're looking for.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like, I mean, I think it feels like even me, like it feels like most people, the internship they had that did not end up landing, like that's not where they ended up staying. Like that wasn't the job that they ended up ultimately getting.
Yeah, one funny thing
I
was
mean, mine was at Disney. Where was yours? Where was your internship?
JP Morgan.
Oh, so you did end up. So for you, you did end up there.
Yeah, it was a horrible internship. I worked like 100 hours a week, and it was just for like zero money.
So you already knew what your future was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that I wanted to go into investing, so it kind of worked out. But I did an internship during my second year at a large real estate developer in downtown San Francisco. So I took the BART over and spend, I don't know, 15, 20 hours a week there. But that was super cool because it like made me feel like I was kind of back in the workforce by, going downtown San Francisco, and and I learned a ton. It was great. It was super interesting. My neighbor, it's funny because I live in the town, who was my old boss, and he's one of my neighbors now, which is great about the Bay Area because it's just such a small network of people. So that's the internship. I think that is
Yeah.
important. I think it's important. Don't stress out too much about it. You'll get a good one. At our program, it was like all the people that didn't have internships just went to Amazon. They took like 7 candidates, and none of them took the job after the internship. I don't know if things have changed at Amazon, but back then it was kind of a tougher place to work.
Yeah, I mean, this book, Designing Your Life, was one of my favorites. There's a lot of books, but just really think about what you want in terms of your life. Like, do you want to be working 100 hours, or maybe you want something different? So, I mean, really think about it, because the mistake I made was I got an internship at Disney. Yeah, it sounds cool, but I was doing the same thing I did before grad school. So I didn't really push the boundaries of what I was trying to do, because I didn't want to keep doing. I was doing basically finance at Disney, and I was already doing finance and I hated finance. So, but like, I guess really take a look at what you've done, and because it's easy to get sucked into the trap, like, oh, well, this is what you've done. So then you're just going to apply to a bunch of companies like based on what you already previously did. I mean, really, like, I mean, you did a great job of really pushing the boundaries. You went and did something completely different. So, I mean, yeah, you have to like, just really kind of like map out what it is in terms of like your dream life, your dream career, because I think that's going to help you really identify. So really, it's easy to get like there was a rush towards the end of I guess the first year where everybody's still scrambling to try to get their internship, but a lot of people just ended up going into stuff they'd already previously done, and like that's not what you're trying to do. I think, like, why would you do that? Like, you already did it, right? You're going to get your MBA to really push the boundaries of what you're doing, and I think it's just super important to just like really be kind of thoughtful in this process. Don't I think just like don't don't think of it as just to check the box. You got to go get an internship because that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, really think about the kind of thing internship you want. So, and I mean, in the internship, I guess for anybody that's trying to start a company, I mean, maybe this doesn't apply, but maybe if you are trying to start a company, maybe there's a company in that industry or something that you can potentially learn a lot about that'll apply to your business. So, anyways, those are my thoughts.
Yeah. Okay, great. So the last one is the entrepreneurship, and John kind of went into the entrepreneurship route. I did not, but we're gonna interview. The great part about our program is we're gonna interview some people that have their MBA that have started companies. I have some really good
Yeah,
friends that have done
we're gonna
this.
we're
And
gonna do a pot. We're gonna do a weekly podcast interviewing people that have their MBAs and really give you a full 360 of like what you could do with your 360. So you're fully armed with what is going to be your best kind of route for success.
so my good friend, he lives down the street from me, went to Stanford. He started an app that tracks mileage for tax purposes. It's focused more on the consumer, but now the pivoting to the business enterprises. He's been doing it for about 8 years, so it's super interesting. And then my other buddy has started multiple companies, and we're currently working at a company that collects data that targets wealthy individuals and large for marketing. As you know, think about like private jet marketing or nonprofit marketing, things like that. But both very successful, both have their MBAs and are crushing it. And so it'll be really cool to kind of hear their stories and experiences with the entrepreneurship side.
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite podcasts is How I Built This with Guy Raz. He's interviewed a lot of MBA success stories. The guys for Warby Parker, I believe they went to Warden, Katrina Lake at Stitch Fix, the Rent the Runway girls, I believe they went to Harvard. But yeah, if you're interested in entrepreneurship, that's a great podcast. And you know, these people, there was I had quite a few people in my cohort that were entrepreneurial success stories. One guy that I started with at USC, he sold his company. It was a company called AdMob. He sold it to Google, I think, for like 700 million. And then there was another guy that he created a film distribution company. I think he must have sold his company for at least 100 million. But these individuals knew basically on day one they were going to start their own businesses. So they really, really leveraged the network. They immediately started networking with professors and really, really um, using the alumni network to push forward their business idea. So it's really exciting. Once if you actually have a pretty tangible business idea, then I mean, the MBA program is like, there's no better place in the world. I mean, you have access to, all the alumni, all the professors, and then you're obviously taking the classes and you can kind of like A/B test and really incubate your idea to be really super successful once you graduate. So it's, yeah, it's an exciting place to be if you have a business idea that you want to incubate and launch.
Great. With that, thank you very much. The last video will be the bonus video. Super excited about that one.
Ooh, bonus.
I think there's some good stuff in there that'll help you as well throughout your MBA journey. So look forward to it, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Boom.